there everybody, here's a little bit more on working with layers. So remember that you want to have this stuff open on the right hand side here, and you can go under layer, add layer, you can view the different windows. So just make sure that you've got access to this stuff over here. But what I've got displayed here are 3 different layers. I can click on my layers toolbar here, and you can see that I've got 3 layers. You can name these so that they have meaning for you. I usually don't take the time. If you're wondering what the layers are, it's a little hard to see, but this is an eyeball, and you can click on the eyeball and it turns the layer on and off, makes it invisible. So all of my plots and text are in layer 1. You don't have to build it that way, and I probably wouldn't if I were going to do it again. This was just a quick draft. But they are basically all connected to each other in one layer, and that's fine. Turn those back on. Layer 2 was a separate piece that I wanted to put in there so that I could drive it to the background. That's one reason you want to have things in different layers, is that you can, stack them and bring things to the front or to the back. And I wanted a gray background to sit behind everything. So I just used this tool here to create a rectangle. I went to layer, add layer, I drew the rectangle, and now it's in its own layer. So that's turned on. Now working with layers, if I want to select this whole chart to ungroup it, I can click and drag, but it's picking up the gray layer in the background, which is really annoying. Another way you can get around that is you can click off your page and drag, and it's going to select everything that's fully inside the rectangle that you drew. So the stuff that was partially inside, it doesn't select those. So that's one way to get around that, and then you can group or ungroup. Sorry, I know you can't see this. Let me try again. It's down at the bottom here. I'm right-clicking group or ungroup, depending on what you want to do. Another way to control that is my gray box is layer 2. This is a lock, and I can lock that, and then I can click and drag and just select the piece that I want here. Let's just say I want to make sure that that's all grouped. Now I can pick this thing up and move it around inside my layer. So that's one little trick. If you then try and pick up the gray thing and move it around, you can't. You have to obviously unlock it again, and then that piece is movable and stackable. Okay, let's see here. We talked a little bit about ungrouping in the other video, but I'll just go over it one more time. If I am selecting this piece here, I can right-click ungroup, and then you can see that it's giving me a bunch of boxes, and it's kind of independently selected a bunch of this stuff. If I want just, say, the blue, everything is kind of selected, so click off and unselect it, and then go back and click on the piece that you want. This looks pretty promising because it's a bounding box that is kind of defined by the max extent of just the blue bars. So now I could go into fill and stroke. The blue is going to be a fill issue, and you can see it's kind of defaulting to blue here. You could either use the RGB to set a specific color for those blue bars if you wanted it to match something else, or if you're just looking to experiment with something that'll look a little bit better, you can just kind of click around on the wheel and see what happens. And remember that there's the circle inside the triangle that increases the kind of vividness of the color, or can make it desaturated, darker, lighter, etc. So play around with this a little bit. Here you're just selecting the gray. If you wanted to impact just one of these bars, you would right-click and ungroup again, and then you get it down to individual gray bars. But this way we are impacting all 4, green, all 4 orange at the same time. And then don't forget to go back in and regroup to make sure that when you're moving things around, everything's locked together. I showed in another video how to crop this down. I think the easiest way is to ungroup, click off, and then click on to get this background white piece. Then you can resize it this way, so you're not dealing with quite so much white. And in the same way, if you wanted to change the background of this to a different color, I believe you can just go into fill and take care of it there. Or another trick would be to reduce the opacity of the background, essentially making it gray or just reducing the contrast. You can either type hard numbers in here, or you can just drag this bar back and forth. Yeah, I don't know that that's the right solution, but there you go. If it doesn't work to change the fill of the white thing, it may not have a color defined for it. You can always use this box. I would maybe create a new layer. So layer, add a layer. Go ahead and draw the frame you want. Put a color on it. Doesn't really matter at this point because it's just for fun. And then try and reorder it. So right now it's behind the gray. We want it in front of the gray, but behind here. And let's bring the opacity of that all the way down. Oh, my computer just froze on me. So what you need to do there is lock the gray and the yellow layer that you just created, click on the background, and then drop the opacity that way. So we're kind of getting rid of the white and replacing it with that icky yellow color that we just made, but that's how you would do that. And then I would recommend grouping these two together. There's got to be a way to do that. But for the sake of expediency, just grab all of it and right-click Group, and then the yellow background, which again is ugly, is connected to the whole plot and moves as one item. Okay, that's it.